Faizun Kamal. I'm with the franchise consulting company, and as always, I love being here with you folks. You are my most favorite group of people to work with, and you'll find out why. Franchises are everywhere. There are hundreds of thousands of people who are franchise owners. But what about veterans makes them particularly suited for a franchise? Did you guys know that 1 in every 7 franchisee owners is a veteran? 1 in every 7. Now, a lot of people think the number is great. I don't particularly think the number is great. I think it needs to be higher. And the reasons why I think it should be higher. How many of you guys, when you were in service, and some of you still are, how many of you guys were told to follow a playbook? Interesting. SOP, baby. That's right. Follow a playbook. How many of you either worked on a team or led a team on various projects? How many of you were told, follow the playbook, work with your team, and execute on the plan? Okay, those 3 key things. Let me put that into the franchise context for you. When you become a franchisee, you follow your franchisor's playbook, the parent company's playbook. They will give you an ops manual, and they will say, Devin, here's the playbook that every franchisee in our company uses and follows to be successful. If you do what we tell you, you will be successful. Because we have franchisees around the country if it's a national brand, or franchisees around the world if it's a global brand, that are following this exact same playbook, and their success is reflected in their growth, in their numbers, in their, right? That's the first thing. The second thing a franchisor does is they're always looking for qualified individuals, like all of you, who have very specific particular skill sets that can be parlayed into their specific business model. So I know for me, when I was in the corporate world, when I was moving up the proverbial ladder, I would go into our corporate headquarters for training every couple of months or every time I was given a promotion. Get new skills, continuing education, remember all that stuff? Here's the beautiful thing with a franchise. When you and I start working together, the first thing I'll do with Devin here is I'll say, Devin, walk me through what you did when you were in service. What did you do? Did you lead a team? Did you project manage? Was your skill set in communications? Or were you more of an ops person? What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to figure out his particular skill sets. And then I'm going to look for those franchise brands that I have that require his particular skill set. No additional training and education necessary. Unlike when we have been employees, in many ways, we have tried to force fit ourselves into the job descriptions, haven't we? Because it's never a 100% match. It's maybe a 95, 96% match. In franchising, it's the reverse. You don't force fit yourself to fit into any business. The business must fit who you are, where you are right now. Does that make sense? Some of you look deathly serious. I don't know why. Good, good. There you go. I promise you, it's not scary stuff. It's exciting stuff. So I would say leadership, teamwork, execution. These are the key skill sets that I look for in my veteran clients. And then I match them up with businesses that require those skill sets.
Well, HT is a great story. He went down to enlist in the Marine Corps. He was a senior graduate in college. Marine Corps booth was closed that day. He joined the Army with 2 provisions. You make me infantry and you send me to Iraq. He got both wishes. The Army loved it. HT is Vietnamese American. His uncle ran the Vietnamese Navy when I was over there. I never met him. But HT was a real hard-working, tough kid. He was a radio operator in Iraq. His platoon commander stepped on an IED. The platoon commander lost a leg. HT lost an eye, had traumatic brain injury, got a titanium rod in his leg. HT would come over to the old Walter Reed to visit with Clayton Henchman, his platoon commander. And we talked him into coming to our classes. he thought our classes were only for wounded that were amputees. HT kept coming back, never said a word in the class, and about 3-4 years later, I get a call. He says, remember those classes I sat at the old Walter Reed? He said, I think I want to start a construction company. And I'm laughing. He's living in San Francisco. He worked for a defense contractor. Hated it. They'd roll him out every Memorial Day and Veterans Day, you know. He was one of our wounded vets, rah, rah, rah. So he started a construction company. Long story short, 5 years later, he's got a construction company with 100 employees, 10%.
Why are you stealing my thunder?
10% of veterans. And they're doing $50 million worth of work a year. And he's doing private sector work. He's a disabled vet-owned business. And he wants to do more. And HT is going to accomplish anything he wants to do. So he sells the company to all the employees. He stays on the board for a couple of years. And he decides he wants to get in the franchise business. And he meets this young lady. And he gets hooked up with her. Well, he now owns
all the right ways.
three master franchises in Texas in the food industry. And he talked to Amanda in one of our classes about going in the food business, but he was thinking of an exotic restaurant in San Francisco overlooking the Pacific. What he's working on is getting these franchise fast food businesses into the military bases in Texas. And HT will do it. I asked HT one day, I said, what do you think of Faizun? And HT says, good, I like her. I said, do you trust her? He said, absolutely. That's all I needed to know. She helps the vets figure out where they're going. The one question I was going to ask, but I had a mouthful of sandwich, was, how do you get paid?
Fantastic.
There you go.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bob. How do I get paid? Let me start off there. Great question. I get paid exactly like an executive headhunter or a realtor. So I work with several hundred franchise brands. When I place a client into the brand then pays me a commission. So you, the client, never pay me a penny. If, by the way, you speak with anyone else except me and they say, well, you need to pay me a fee, you should run as fast as you can away from them, because that is not done, that is not right. Make sense? Okay. So back to the story of HT, even though this guy just completely stole my thunder here. So HT, Bob does the introduction, start talking to him, and like I described to you guys, the first thing I asked him was, well, tell me a little bit about what you've done. And so he talks about the construction company that he had built from scratch in the Bay Area, from nothing, from the ground up. And when he spoke to me at the time, he had just sold the company, over 100 employees with about 50 million in top line revenue. Built it from scratch. So I said, well, what might some of your skill sets be? Maybe operations? He's like, yeah, I think so. I said, maybe managing a large team of people? Yeah, maybe, right? So do you see how this process starts to kind of take shape? It's a very unique thing that happens with every client, because each of you in the room are discrete, unique individuals with skill sets and strengths and weaknesses and likes and dislikes that are very different from the person sitting beside you. In your career, you've done very, very different things. I want to know about those things, because that's what makes me able to then find, out of the hundreds of brands that I work with, the one that I call your perfect fit. Not your romantic perfect fit, your business perfect fit, right? So I began talking to HT. The first thing we do is I will build your business model. Your customized business model is, think of me walking into the meeting with a blank sheet of paper, and I will ask you 101 questions, at the end of which you will get really sick and tired of me. But I promise you it's for you. And I want to go beyond your resume. I want to go beyond your LinkedIn profile. I want to go beyond all of the stuff that we use to introduce ourselves professionally. Do you guys know what I'm saying? Yeah. What is that thing that puts a sparkle in your eye every morning? I want to know what that thing is. Because when I know what that is, You're going to have this business for at least 10 years. The average franchise agreement is for 10 years, by the way, guys. Don't know if you knew that. You have to be able to jump out of bed every morning for 10 years and really love what you do. I mean, wouldn't life be more funner? I think so, because that's what I do. I want to know, conversely, what are those things you would much rather get your tooth pulled out without lidocaine than do those things? You all laugh, but you know you have them. We all do. So can I help you find a business that allows me to align you with your strengths and away from your weaknesses? Do you think that that scenario might help you to be as successful as you could possibly be? Hell yes. I built HT's business model. I worked with him over a period of 9 months. By the way, he is the one client who I have ever worked this long with. So we looked at a bunch of different brands. I gave him food because he said he liked food. I gave him service. I gave him a fitness brand. I forget the fourth. We went through the process, and basically what happens in this process is every week you schedule calls with the brands that I give you. And every week the franchisor goes through one particular aspect of their business model with you. Communications, client generation, operations, marketing, lead development, whatever the business is. They'll go through all of that with you as a potential franchisee. He did that for about 4 or 5 months. And every week, by the way, I will have a call with you. And the intent from my call is to be able to learn, what homework did you do last week, Devin? Who did you talk to? What did you learn? What did you like? Were there any red flags you had that made you want to run away? I want to learn all that, because what it does for me is it helps me course correct if we need to, and it helps me ensure that I keep you on point. Right? Okay. So 4 or 5 months into the process, I can tell he likes the brands, but he doesn't really love the brands. Because when HT is excited, you can hear something in his voice. When he's not, you can also hear that too. So I said, all right, my dear, what's happening here? What do we need to do? And so we went back again to his business model. We revisited that. This is really the heart of my process with you, my client. Once I really get an understanding of what your deeper motivations and desires are, that is what helps me hone in on the business. For HT, these were the key things for him. His biggest needs, he wanted to build something extraordinary. His word, not mine. So for a guy who built a $50 million company from scratch, I knew he was going to do it again. He said, I want to build something extraordinary. I want to be a trailblazer. I've done it before, I'm going to do it again. What's that brand that allows me to do that? Very importantly for him, HT at heart is a servant leader. You guys know what that is, right? He wants to be able to provide a product or a service of value to the community that he is in. And last but not least, he wanted to make money. Right? Those were his biggest needs. Using that, I presented to him a food brand, an emerging food brand, not an established brand, emerging. They had just started maybe 2.5 years, had only a couple of locations. And he fell in love. So I introduced the brand, he had one call, got on the next weekly call with HT, and the tenor of the conversation was different. Why? Because it hit him finally. He had found the one. He didn't quite know why, but he could feel the excitement in him. And he finally signed on with this brand. You can look them up. They're called Mahana Fresh, M-A-H-A-N-A, Mahana Fresh. You guys know what poke is? Yeah, it's a poke brand. Mahana Fresh. He is what we call the master franchisee for all of San Antonio and Austin. So he owns that entire area. In his rights, he's bought the rights to act as the franchisor themselves. Okay? Over the course of the next 10 years, it's a 10-year agreement, he is going to recruit 40 single unit franchisees, meaning he's going to help find 40 franchisees who will build up 40 separate restaurant locations of this brand in these 2 markets.